Okay, we're about to review this J. Cole project, so everyone please make sure you have your smarty pants on because we all know it takes a certain level of intelligence in order to understand J. Cole, and thus this review. So if you don't like this review and you don't like J. Cole, then very clearly you must only listen to artists like Young Thug, Lil Uzi Vert, and Lil Yachty. I mean, that is just facts. What's up, everyone? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to get your music reviewed, you can hit up this email that's right here. But right now, we are going to talk about this new J. Cole album, For Your Eyes Only. Now, this is the follow-up to 2014 Forest Hills Drive, which, of course, went platinum with no features, so let's just get that shit out of the way. And leading up to this album, he dropped 2 tracks, False Prophets and Everybody Dies. On these 2 songs, he was just taking subliminal shots at people like Kanye, Wale, Lil Yachty, and Lil Uzi, and he wasn't saying names on these tracks, but a lot of people could tell who he was speaking to based on the things that he was saying. And I'm glad both of these tracks didn't make the cut because they didn't have original productions. On False Prophets, we had Cole going in over Joey Badass's Waves instrumental, and then with Everybody Dies, we had that same sample loop that we may have heard on a Tribe Called Quest song, Lyrics to Go, and also Isaiah Rashad's song, Rose Gold. So, you know, I'm not a big fan of recycled beats. I think a lot of people aren't, although sometimes it does work. And there is a serious recycled beat on this one that clearly sticks out. And obviously I'm talking about Deja Vu, which at first basically just sounds like a Bryson Tiller Exchange remix. Now there's all kinds of controversy about this one because Vinyls, who produced this along with Boy Wonder, said that this J. Cole song was made first, but someone stole this beat, gave it to Bryson Tiller, that song happened first, so that whole shit is just very muddy. Who knows what actually happened, but either way, I still find it weird that they would put this song on here with that beat because Exchange was such a hit, so to have this beat reoccurring on here after this song was so popular, it just seemed like a really weird choice to me because I'm listening through the song and I just don't care because I've heard this sample used many times. The sample is called Swing My Way. I forget who it is that did the original song, but it has been used on Charles Hamilton's song Brooklyn Girls as well and many other tracks. So right away I wasn't a big fan of this song. Not that it sounds like trash, it's not all out bad, but it's so damn familiar. And as far as the bars, J. Cole is just spitting some game at a girl. And there is a concept that deepens some of these tracks and ties the shit together, which I will talk about a bit later, so just bear with me because first I want to talk about how this one sounded to me and just my overall experience as I listened to it, and then you guys can form your opinions. I mean, you already have your opinions formed, I should say. You can share them with me after I share what I thought about it because honestly, man, this one got off to a damn slow start to me, especially with that intro track that's very dreary, has this somber jazz production, and Cole is on here just whimpering in that awful singing voice he uses about how he's down in the dumps and he's depressed. And that singing is just terrible, man. It is all throughout this album, and I think it's one of the things that really hurts it, especially on Ville Mentality, because this soft piano comes in and I thought to myself, man, we are about to get a track that I am gonna love. This shit sounds so damn smooth. Then he started singing. Man, it was bad. It sounded like some American Idol episode 1 or 2 reject type of shit, some William Hung type of shit. It was just terrible, and I don't know why he couldn't get someone else to do the singing on here. Of course, you know, he doesn't like having features, maybe that's part of it, but I just thought the singing on this project was really bad. But that's something that people will be split on, I'm sure, because some people say it's just the emotion and the pain in his voice, but he must be in a lot of pain because these vocals are really hurting throughout a lot of these tracks. Really, the only song I cared for on the first half would be Immortal because this one has some livelier production, has a little bit of bang to it, and I did like the content because Cole is just pontificating on death, dope dealing, and decisions. So you are going to pick up on some good things here and there throughout that song. Also throughout this album, I have to say, like, I know I'm kind of trashing it so far, but there is some good, which I'm working my way up to. But that first half, man, really did not do too much for me. And the first song that I really did like is the song Change, because this has some more bright, inspirational production. I really like the light keys that are going on throughout it. And here Cole is just spitting about the power of change, how faith helped him, and he also spits about the death of his friend James. So this is where we get a little bit of the concept coming into play, which I will talk about later. And Neighbors was probably my favorite track. That's the song that came after Change. So after a slow start, we went 2 for 2, and I really do appreciate that because Neighbors is another track that's a bit of a banger, kind of like Immortal. Those two were more of the upbeat tracks that you're going to get on here. And I like the content because Cole's just rapping about how the neighbors think he's selling dope. He's this rich, successful black man who moves to a wealthy neighborhood but people are still looking at him funny, so it was interesting to get his take on how he was still being racially profiled despite being as successful as he is. So I really like those two tracks, Change and Neighbors. Immortal was all right, and the rest of the songs up to this point, you know, I wasn't really feeling too much, and I will talk about some of those in a minute. But now we're going to talk about the concept, because on the outro track, which is also the title track, J. Cole starts off by rapping 3 verses from the perspective of James, who we mentioned on the song Change because he was murdered. And in the verses, J. Cole is just narrating his life and speaking to James's daughter, who he's left behind. So he's just letting his daughter know how much he loves her. He wants the best for her. He always tried his best, but he did get caught up in some street shit, and he starts having premonitions of his death. So then on the last verse, the 4th one, J. Cole takes over because James has passed away, and he's speaking to James's daughter as well, and just letting her know that he will live on throughout this album, and she can play this album to sort of reaccount his life and just take some things from it as she grows up and gets older. So that's what the concept is, man. It's really cool, and this is where people get a little bit split, because some people are saying this whole album up until that last verse of the last song is from James's perspective, but I didn't take it that way, because you clearly get some moments that are from J. Cole's perspective, including on the song Change when he's rapping about when James was shot. There's also an outro on that track where J. Cole is speaking at the funeral. So the whole thing isn't from his perspective, but the way I took it is that it's just showing the parallels between these two, because they both have a baby girl and also a woman in their lives. J. Cole's married. I'm not sure if James was married or if he just had a baby mama. I think it was the latter. But either way, man, you can see the parallels being drawn on some of these tracks, which is pretty interesting. Like on the song She's Mine Part 1 and 2, where J. Cole is giving a dedication to his wife and his baby girl. So you can see the connection there, how that would tie into James's life, and throughout a bunch of these songs, man. I think it's really interesting how he tied that together, and the concept is one of the stronger parts. But again, sonically, there wasn't a whole lot that I was feeling on this one, because those 2 songs that I just mentioned, the tributes to his wife and his daughter, have some more very empty production, just some strings and piano. Not trash, just not very interesting, very dull and mundane. And Cole is once again singing. He's singing again, man, in that awful voice. Then he's rapping in a very whispery, slow, drowsy flow. It just is really hard to stay interested despite the content and despite the concept that you catch on to when you finish that last track. For me personally, I know some people think this is a masterpiece because of all that, and I appreciate it because there's some dope storytelling on here, but a lot of J. Cole's bars on here are very drowsy. I just find his rapping is very standard and straight to the point. Not to say he's bad. Dope storytelling, dope concept, stressing that so people don't get too wild in the comment section, even though I know they will. But there's just not much about J. Cole's actual rapping that really sticks out to me. And as far as his singing, again, it's awful. The production is very dull. Foldin' Clothes would be one of my least favorite tracks, because even though it is kind of fun, lighthearted, and funky, and I get the message about helping your girl out by folding clothes, and there's also a little thing on the outro about toxic masculinity and the tough faces that people keep on, even though I understand all that, that shit still just has him singing about folding clothes. So that one got corny to me after a while, although I kind of liked it at first because it was a fun track. But by the end of it, after all these listens I gave this project, I didn't like that song. So there were a lot of things on here that really just didn't stick with me. For such a short album that's only 10 tracks, I wasn't blown away. It started off slow, took a long time for me to really care, and in the end, I only liked a couple of tracks. So for me, this is a 3 out of 5. The pros, storytelling, also the fact that, you know, he has this concept about his friend who passed on. I think that's very touching. It's great that he did that. And it's also cool that you get to see J. Cole's growth as a man, just how personal and relatable he gets on this, which is his bread and butter, and a big reason of why people like him a lot, because he is so relatable. He's kind of the common man who people can just say, hey man, look at J. Cole living his life, doing his thing, just like us common folk, man, just like us peasants. Not that he says it in that type of way. I'm just kind of bullshitting now because I'm at the end of the review. So let's wrap it up before I ramble on too long, because I'll ramble forever. And make sure you do all that good YouTube and social media stuff, man, where you like my videos, you share them, you follow me on Twitter, you retweet the videos, and you especially subscribe to my channel and like the Facebook page where we got all kinds of jokes, discussions, all kinds of shit going on over there. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.